it's actually built into our DNA to believe that we are what we produce, that
Yeah.
we must work. And there's this, like, in your mind, you have to decide, like, I am deserving of rest.
Welcome to the Climb Podcast, where we are diving into taboo topics and redefining the rules for women of color leaders. Get ready as we share the stories and amplify the voices of extraordinary women of color, from navigating workplace challenges to celebrating triumphs. On this podcast, we've got you covered. So buckle up and join us as we embark on today's empowering journey.
Welcome to the Climb Podcast, where we empower women of color in the pursuit of leadership in managerial roles. I'm your host, Felicia Smith, the founder of The Climb, a 501c3 organization that's committed to the advancement of women of color in leadership in managerial roles. And each week on this podcast, we dive into topics that have been mystified or just taboo and talk about the real realities of women of color in the workplace, the things that we deal with, the challenges that we just don't talk about. And today we have a special guest, Elandria Charles, who's going to come in and talk to us about our topic for the day, which is the strategic pause, why pausing is a leadership skill. And that is new. Like we typically talk about emotional intelligence. We talk about, power skills, how we need to be present. But what about the pause and how important that is? So, Elandria, welcome to the podcast. We are so excited to have you this morning.
I am so excited to be here. Thank you, Felicia.
Awesome. So let's start off with you telling us a little bit about yourself, your background, and dive into a little bit about the strategic pause and what that means for you.
Sure. Okay, so I want to start by introducing myself in relationship to others. And I'm intentionally starting this way because for so long in my life, in some ways, I hid behind my title and I was defined by my title. So I'm going to start by saying I am a wife, I'm a mother, I am a daughter, I am a granddaughter, I'm a chosen big sister, I'm a friend. I've also started a firm called Ayoka Partners. Ayoka Partners is committed to investing in the rest, clarity, and joy of Black women leaders through strategic pauses. And so often I refer to it as sabbatical care. People know sabbaticals as extended time off. People take 8, 12 weeks away from work. Yes, I mean that, but I also mean sabbatical moments. I think there is so much opportunity for us, and let me be real, Black women, to take time for ourselves and claim the pauses in our day-to-day that we just let go because we're on the rat wheel. We're constantly doing, and not listening to our natural rhythms and taking the pauses that help us to reset and reclaim ourselves.
Oh, I love that. And I'm curious about 15 million things that you just said. So let's just talk about sabbaticals in general. When people think sabbaticals, who have they naturally thought about that it's for?
Yes. So often, if you hear sabbatical, it's usually associated with academia or clergy, right? And even those sabbaticals aren't necessarily about rest. Like you'll hear about a professor or a researcher going on sabbatical, but it's to do more work. Yeah. And so, when I look at the statistics, only 23% of US companies offer sabbaticals. And so when you think about the opportunity to actually be able to step away for extended time, it's not something that most people have access to. And so I'm on a mission to actually increase access, especially for Black women. And so I'm in conversation with foundations and different entities across the country who can actually fund the time off for women of color in particular. But separate and apart from that, I believe that we have to reclaim our rest right now. And so I refer to sabbaticals as sabbatical moments. And what I mean by that are the moments in our day-to-day. I'm talking about a Monday, a Wednesday, a Friday, that we can pause and be present and notice and come home to ourselves. I want to demystify sabbaticals, and I want to take down this sort of notion that a sabbatical is not for me. It's for you, sis. Claim it.
I love that. Okay. I have 5 more questions. I'm getting excited because this is really good. But I'm gonna start and we'll go ahead and go on the first segment because if not, I'll never leave this space. So our first segment is somebody should have told me, and we talk about all the things that like we wish that we knew. So Elandria, tell us like what are some of the things we wish, well, I know there's some things that I wish I would have known, which is just in general how important pausing is and
Yes.
how probably and when you don't do it and you drive too hard, burnout comes when you don't even see it coming. But what are some of the things that you wish that you would have known before you started your journey?
Yeah, it's related to burnout, Felicia. For me, it is the system is doing what it was set up to do to burn us out. You listen, on StrengthsFinder, I'm one of those achievers. I'm going to go hard. I'm going to do the thing. I'm going to work harder and like, I'm going to do it. I'm going to make it happen come hell or high water. And I think being programmed that way, being an only child, perfectionist tendencies, all these things made me constantly in a mode of striving, proving, doing. And that's what the system wants to happen. It wants me to produce, to do all the things with no care for my health, for my sustainability, for my longevity. And so I think we actually need to shift our mindset and stop playing into what the system is supposed to do, which is burn you out, and actually pause for yourself. Nobody else is going to give you permission to stop and rest and get present with yourself. And it took me too long to reach that point, but better late than never.
I know that's true. And it's, I think this has been the first year that I've really thought about it differently. I burned out last year, by the way.
Oh,
That's just
thank you for being honest. Thank you for saying that. That's
yeah, so I burned
real.
out last year. And so this year
Mhm.
I've just been thinking about number one, when you burn out, it takes your body a while to even come back to itself. So
That's
your
right.
ability to like, even if you want to move at that same speed, it's
You
no longer
can't.
available.
You
Right. And so
can't.
you're trying to like figure out how do you be in this new place. And that's why, to your point, it's so important to not wait till you get there,
That's
right?
right.
To
That's right.
figure out what your body's telling you on the front end.
That's
But to
right.
that point, in this newer version of myself, I think
Yes.
about what pauses look like. I think about,
Mhm.
to your point, often, even if we're taking a day, we take that day to run errands. We
To
take that
catch
day
up, to do life.
correct.
Be still.
Correct. Yes. So what does it look like to, and I wish someone told me that,
Yes.
the importance of taking a vacation and that
Yep.
vacation just being to
Yep.
do nothing and
Yep.
not to say, I'm taking a vacation to go this place, to run
Yep.
around and do all these excursions. And then you
Yep.
come back to work and your body is never just like released.
That's right.
I think
That's
that's so
right.
important.
That's
And we
right.
don't talk about that. And we don't really talk about burnout either. So I wish someone would have said, this is what it looks like. Because I also didn't know what it looked like either. What does it look like?
Modeling.
What do you think it looks? Tell us about Elandria, what it looks like
Yes.
for burnout.
Yeah, so let me before I go to what it looks like, I just want to acknowledge what you're bringing up, Felicia, which is the guilt and the disconnect. And it's not just conscious, it's subconscious. It's actually built into our DNA to believe that we are what we produce, that
Yeah.
we must work. And there's this like in your mind, you have to decide like I am deserving of rest. I am
Yes.
deserving of a pause. I can be still, and that doesn't make me any less valuable. I
Correct.
actually want to read a quote that has spoke to me so deeply. It's by a psychiatrist. Her name is Reba Peoples,
Okay.
and she talks about the especially for people of color why it is so difficult to rest. She says we live in a culture that values productivity, so we are measured by that capacity to produce. But for Black people, that idea goes even deeper because our enslaved ancestors were literally valued based on their capacity to labor.
Wow.
So it's dangerous to rest. And we have had that encoded into our DNA. So I just want to acknowledge like there's nothing wrong with you if you struggle to pause, to slow down, to be still. It takes a lot of unlearning and undoing. So let me get to the second part of your question, Felicia, which was
I
around
love that.
how do you do
Thank you
this?
for doing that. I love that.
My
Yes.
pleasure. How do you do this? So I actually like to approach it like in a linear way, like when you think about your day. I believe the most important moment in your day is the minute you open your eyes.
Mm,
Don't go reach for a phone. Don't put a screen. Like literally take that moment to pause, be present, and think about what you want for yourself. I call it a daily inquiry. Here's an example of a question you could ask yourself. What is the best fuel to support my dreams today? What is the best fuel to support my dreams today? You may decide it is another question, but the idea is to center yourself in what you want, and then it just flows. It helps you make choices and show up in ways that are so much intentional throughout the day. Another thing I think is, we're overscheduled, just like as a people. There's constant like back to back to back to back meetings. This gets to the point around the agency that is ours that we actually don't claim for ourselves. If someone is trying to schedule meetings back to back, you can actually say, no, I need a 15-minute, if not a 30-minute buffer. Make that a requirement for yourself or
that's
tell
good.
people, block it
That's
so
good.
that people cannot schedule back to back. I think even when we're transitioning in between meetings, breathing, taking some time. I love this one where you do 2 inhales, 1 long exhale. 2 inhales, 1 long exhale. That immediately regulates your nervous system and gets you prepared for what's next. The way we meet, there is this default to always being on video. Again, agency. You know what, teammate? Like, actually, let's just take this by phone. I'm going to walk and talk. Those are options that we just leave on the table and we default to how other people decide they want to engage with us. You have to listen to your body. And I actually believe less stimuli during a meeting is a form of rest. So those
Wow.
are just a
Okay.
few
I love that.
examples. I can keep going.
Oh, I like all of that. And a lot of us, well, some of us wear even our watches, like our Fitbit. I wear a Fitbit to work,
Yeah.
and it has that 2-minute relax thing on it. And
Okay.
often I forget, but to your
Just
point, it's so
ignore it.
important. When I do it, that I typically only do it when I'm getting really stressed and I'm about to blow a gasket. And I'm like, you know what? I need to push this button before everything
But
explodes.
imagine if you did it all alone, right?
Imagine,
You wouldn't get to
right?
that breaking
Yeah.
point. Mm-hmm.
Correct. And I have been noticing, to your point, people's calendars, right? People
Yeah.
put blocks on their calendars. I spent all last week doing what I call calendar inventory. I was looking at all
Oh,
these
that's
other
so
executives,
smart.
the new executive. I'm looking at their calendars. What they doing? Like, how are they? Like, people got blocks on their calendars. They
Yes.
got executive time.
Yes.
My calendar to be to work, to your point, to work for me,
Work for
as
me.
opposed to letting your calendar, because a lot of us just let our calendar tell
It's
us.
at the mercy of everybody else.
Correct.
No.
And I've
Mhm.
done that for a very long time. So yeah, last week I was like, I'm gonna have to figure out what I want to do. What's gonna work for me in terms of timing, because I do have that agency, but
Yes,
if I don't take advantage of it, it's just gonna go away. They're just gonna just
that's
keep
right.
going,
That's
filing and
right.
all that stuff. So no, that's so good.
And it's a level of proactivity that you're bringing up, Felicia, right? Where it's not just in the moment, oh, I need extra time. No, it's looking ahead, looking to March, April, May, and deciding in advance. Also, when you think about time that you already have off, a long weekend, if there's a Friday, think about building in a Thursday or adding a Monday. Like there are just, again, natural opportunities for us to extend our rest that we're just not looking ahead far enough to be intentional about.
Yes,
Mm.
yes. And I think unfortunately, or fortunately, because I think all things happen for a reason. That's where
Yeah,
I am now. Because, like, for instance, if you work in organizations, I work in government where we have holidays. A
yes.
holiday's coming up on Monday.
Yeah,
I added that Friday and I added that Tuesday on the other side, right? So then you
right.
have a longer period of time to relax,
Yep.
also spend time with your family, also do
Yes.
things that you typically don't do when you're just
Mhm.
trying to climb this ladder, right? You
Yeah.
can get
Yeah.
so much into the climb that you sometimes forget the other things that are important, which is yourself. Often
That's
we're the
right.
first people that we sacrifice
That's
to
right.
do all of those things.
That's right. That's right.
Wow. Okay, let's go to the second topic. And I think we're already kind of there, which is called Truth Is. And that's really about all the things that are true about it. The truth, the whole truth, the ugly part about it, the pretty part about it. So let's talk about let's start with the ugly part about what happens when we don't think of a strategic pause as a leadership skill. What are some of the things and experiences that maybe a woman is experiencing right now and she doesn't even know that her body is telling her this thing?
Welcome to The Climb, a space designed just for women of color who desire managerial, leadership, and even C-suite positions. To achieve this level of success in your career, you need a trusted community that will embrace you while helping you to navigate to your highest career goals. Join The Climb for free. We offer the following resources: The Climb Podcast, Standing on Her Shoulders Leadership Development Program, Women of Color Coaching Network, the Boardroom Training Program, and the Climb newsletter. Go to www.the-climb.org and click the button Become a Member, and we will keep you updated with our simple and fun newsletter and events that we have coming up soon. You don't want to miss it. Go to www.the-climb.org. See you soon.
Yes. You lose yourself. You are not in touch with the things that matter most to you, and you're not operating in alignment. And I'm speaking on that from someone who experienced it, where I literally felt like I had become a shell of myself. I couldn't think straight. I couldn't make decisions. I was just completely misaligned. And so I'm going to talk a little bit about how I support leaders in the hopes
Please
that
go
it
ahead.
helps people visualize what's possible. So I have a 4 rhythm framework. It starts with rest, it goes to remember, it goes to recast, and then it goes to realize. The rest part is the stillness. That is literally taking the time to hear what your body and your mind and your heart, they're always telling us something, but too often we're clouded by the noise that you can't hear it. So that is just being still. The remember, it's about going back to your brilliance. So I think that there is so much wisdom from our ancestors, but also our childhood. Thinking about the things that lit you up, that brought you joy, that made you feel purposeful. The recast is looking ahead, visualizing the life that you want for yourself. What are your deepest desires? Like, where do you want your time and energy to be spent? Who do you want to be spending time with? And then the realize is some of the things we were talking about, which are the operationalizing what you want, the calendaring, like how you spend your time, like actually putting some checkpoints in place to keep you honest about this life that you say you want for yourself. And so my biggest recommendation for women who are feeling, sometimes it feels like you're literally suffocating, where you can't catch your breath because there is so much coming at you. You gotta pause. You gotta block the time to just be. And that might look like getting a piece of paper and just letting the pen go across the page and whatever is in you pouring out. That might be meditating, praying, something I haven't brought up, moving your body. Yeah. Every single day, we should be doing something. And I'm not talking about some intense workout. This could be a walk, stretching, dancing, because there's research that shows that we hold stress in our bodies. If I get really detailed about it, women in particular hold a lot of stress in our hips. And so to the extent that you can do something every single day to let that stress and all the burdens and cares of the world pass through your body is hugely important. And then it allows you, it frees up your mind to do the things that you're meant to do.
That's good. That is so good.
Felicia, you asked the question from the vantage point of your listener, right? And the woman who is, maybe in a moment of, I'm going to call it crisis.
Yeah.
What else is coming up for you, like based on what I said, or other things that you think could be helpful? Because you know your community very well.
Yeah, what I know for sure actually is that we don't know that we're in crisis until it hits. So even if I speak from my
That's a
perspective,
word.
no, I was in crisis until it was, to your point, you start to feel like I don't want to do this anymore. You're tired. You don't want to focus in on the meeting. And if you're a person who is a perfectionist, a high performer, a person who like gets it done, and now all of a sudden you no longer feel like you want to do it.
Yep.
Um, and then you start to ask yourself questions like, what's wrong? And then you
Yep.
realize like, oh man, your body's just it's done. It's tired.
Yep.
You can try
Wow.
to push yourself there, but you
Yep.
can't get there. And so I
Yep.
think some of us, particularly, 2025 was a super rough year.
Yeah.
Like, I think for
Yes.
the average woman, with whether she was dealing with everything that was going on with the changes in the political realm, or as
Hmm.
a result, losses of jobs, like everyone was in
Hmm.
this transition, and our bodies were telling us things that I don't
That's
think people
right.
are listening to, because
That's
we are
right.
used to, particularly as Black women, of holding it
Push through.
together
That's
for our
right.
families, holding it
That's
together
right.
for everyone else, and just
That's right.
pushing through.
Yep.
And at some point, you can't push through, you hit a barrier. And
That's
so,
right.
like, how do you deal with then that barrier? So, number one, I love your framework and just really talking about it's really grounding yourself in what's true for you
For
and who
you.
you want to be and how you want to show up, and then being intentional about that. So,
Yes.
I guess then my question would be, okay, all this stuff is good. I see
Yeah.
it. If I had to do something right now, today, in this moment, what
Yes.
should I do right now?
Oh, such a great question. Whew. Which one? I'm gonna say block the time. So find a block of time, and I'm gonna say breathe.
I love that.
There's so much power in our breath. There's so much that clears when you inhale deeply and exhale. Block some time to breathe.
Mm, that is good. And I actually think that we're really prepared to go into segment three, which is another rung mended. And that's really based on, the broken rung theory about how we have a hard time climbing, but really in general, how do we mend that? And I'm a firm believer, Landria, that one of the ways is rest. And I love not just rest, I love strategic pause, because it is
Yes,
strategic. It isn't just
that's
kind of
right.
haphazard.
Feeling. Yes.
Correct. Or maybe I should do it. It's really planning it, embedding it in your life. And I think about, before I go there, I've been rereading Atomic Habits. It's one of my
Okay.
favorite books. What it talks about is how habits form itself, is you got to bake it in, right? I'm going to
Yes,
do this thing after I do this thing. So now you know what's happening.
that's
And I
right.
think when we talk about strategic pause, to your point, it has to be built in, right?
Mhm,
So that
mhm.
after this meeting, I'm going to block 15
That's
minutes.
right.
Now it's a part of your habit because you've now formed it as such. So, okay, said a lot of words, but I'm loving this. What are a couple of things, one to
Mhm.
three, you pick, that
Yep.
you really want to leave the audience with,
Mhm.
to carry away from this discussion?
Yes. The first is something I've said before. You deserve rest. There is so much undoing and unlearning, but we are programmed to go, to do, to show up. You deserve rest. And then I'm going to echo something you said, Felicia. You deserve intentional rest. So it is yours to claim. Your time is your own. And I don't mean that in a way that you're, kind of like ignoring your responsibilities, like you work for an employer. There are certainly obligations, but there are ways that you can reclaim your time and use time to refuel. Um, so you deserve rest. You deserve intentional rest. So pull up that calendar. Look at next week. Go all the way through the end of March and decide. Are you going to block your mornings? Is 9 to 11 off limits? 9 to 11 a.m. off limits? When is your last meeting? Does it end at 4 p.m., 5 p.m.? What are you doing in between the beginning and end of your day to recharge? Are you having
Yeah.
lunch somewhere else? Plan it, put it on the calendar. Like some people say, if it's not on the calendar, it doesn't exist.
That's me. That's me.
So start to work out on mentally. Create a new mental model that rest is yours, so much so that you're going to be intentional about it and make it real in the way you spend your time.
That is awesome. That is awesome. This has been so great. You have, number one, I love your framework, and I really do think that I want to bring you into our Climb organization to do some work with our ladies. We have to figure that out. But in the interim, I want you to tell the audience how they can find you, how they can connect. If they want to be a part of your framework and doing the work, let them know how they can find you.
Yes. Okay. So I'm on LinkedIn, Elandria Jackson Charles. And then on Instagram, I'm Rest, Clarity, Joy. Those 3 words, no dashes, Rest, Clarity, Joy. So find me in those places. I would love, love, love to connect.
Awesome. Well, guys, thank you so much for listening. If you are experiencing any of these things that we talked about, please, at minimum, do what Elandria said and just take a pause. But also, if you want to dive deeper, reach out to her, go to her, follow her on social media, because I think that, or I know for sure, I didn't stop saying I know for sure that the way that we climb is through strategic pause. I mean, if you are so intentional, and it's good to be intentional. I'm an A type, so I get it, but there is dangers in that no one tells you about when you are climbing and you hold all the other roles that Elandria started in her podcast with. Mm-hmm. So please reach out, get the assistance. We're going to talk about it in the community. Join the climb if you have to, but at the end of the day, make sure that you are taking care of yourself. But until next time, keep climbing and also keep strategic pausing. We'll see you later.
Bye.
Thanks for tuning into the Climb podcast. If you enjoyed today's episode, don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review us on wherever you listen to podcasts. For updates and behind-the-scenes content, make sure you're following us on Instagram and LinkedIn at Join the Climb. Until next time, keep climbing and keep thriving, sis. See you next episode.